Hi guys, and welcome back to the Uncensored UFO Index. Today we're going to look at a historical case. This one actually dates back to 1948. This is a case that I've looked into quite a lot over the last couple of years. I can't quite put my finger on it, but for me there's just something about this case that I find really intriguing. Unfortunately, it is a case, we don't come across many of these, where the pilot in this story didn't actually make it. So I don't know whether that is another element that draws me to it, because we'll never really know what he saw that day. But let's dive right into the story. So this case that we're going to look at today was reported on the 7th of January 1948 at around 1:45 in the afternoon. There were some highway patrol officers who reported to the control tower at Godman Air Base on Fort Knox in Kentucky that they'd seen something very unusual in the sky and they didn't know what they were looking at. Some senior officers and some senior commanders then congregated in the control room, and even amongst them, through their binoculars, they just could not determine what they were looking at in the sky. So while all these senior officers and commanders are in this office and looking out through the windows through their binoculars, scratching their heads and trying to work out what the heck it was that they were looking at, there was a fleet of 4 P-51 Mustang aircraft close by, and these were led by Captain Thomas Mantell. So just for a little bit of information about Thomas Mantell, so he was a National Air Guard pilot, and he had around 2,000 hours of flight to his name. He was 25 at the time of this incident, and he had flight experience on D-Day in 1944 as well. He was decorated, he was experienced, he knew what he was doing. However, he didn't have an awful lot of experience with the Mustang, which is one of the reasons why some people eventually said that this situation kind of all went wrong in the end. So, as I said, there was 4 of these Mustang aircraft. Now, one had to go back to base because it had low fuel. However, the other 3 continued to try and find what this object was. One ended up having to drop back because of low oxygen levels, and then at 22,500 feet, another one of the aircraft abandoned the mission. However, Captain Mantell continued on. Now, this situation deteriorated very quickly. Throughout his time that he was thundering towards whatever this object was, the control tower were trying to get hold of him, but there was no contact. We don't have any answers to why. And the last time that Captain Mantell's plane was seen was when it was doing a nosedive death spiral towards the ground. Unfortunately, it crashed and he didn't survive. So after the incident, the Air Force immediately opened an investigation into what had happened here. Now, there were a couple of main theories. Now, the first one, bear with me, was that he was chasing Venus. Now, this sounds absolutely crazy. However, weeks just prior to Mantell's demise, F-51 Mustang pilots had been fooled into thinking that there was some unusual bright light in the sky, which turned out to be Venus, which was just exceptionally bright in the sky at that time of year. So this theory was quickly gotten rid of. However, it did seem to have some hold for a short amount of time. Now, the second theory about this incident, and we may have heard of this before, is that it may have been a skyhook weather balloon. Now, at the time of this incident, this was a highly classified operation that neither Mantell nor the people at the Godman Air Base would have known about. So if it was a weather balloon in the sky, they really would not have known what it was. So there could potentially be a ring of truth. However, because of the speed that this investigation and these answers were thrown out to the public had a certain amount of suspicion about this. And that rings true even to today. There are still people who are very suspect about the fact that they just said, oh, it's a weather balloon. And then that was kind of the end of the investigation. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is a very sad case. We don't see very often that people lose their lives chasing these unidentified objects. So I do think that has a slight draw for it for me, because this is amongst the ones that there is absolutely no way we will ever really know what was in the sky, because the person who got closest to it saw his demise there and then on that day. Now, even if you haven't heard about this incident before, it is kind of one that has lingered around for a while. At the time, it was one of the most publicised UFO incidents around. It was in newspapers and everything. Since that time, we have had movies made about this and it's appeared in documentaries. If you go looking for it, it's really not a difficult one to find a lot of information about, but it is one that's got huge questions hanging over it. Somewhere like Fort Knox is huge in America. Why was there something hanging around there? We will never know. So guys, if you've got any comments on this video for today, any questions or any information I may have missed out of this story, because I do know that there is a whole world of information about this one in particular, leave a comment in the comments box below or send us a message to our Instagram account. As always guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a really interesting one for me and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video with your friends if you feel like it's interesting, and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss when we release our new one. We love to hear from you guys, so please send us any messages or comments about anything you've seen today or anything you might have seen that you'd like us to have a little look at. We'll see you again next time.